you geeks. So Disney, in all its wisdom, decided to release Raya and the Last Dragon on the same day that WandaVision ended. And I could only choose one. All things considered, I figured the movie with dragon in the title was more on brand for this channel, and you've already read this video's title, so it's not like it's a surprise. Raya and the Last Dragon is a fine, almost good movie. Though I can't help but feel like there was a great version of this movie left on the cutting room floor. There were several times I thought, this is just like Atlantis, a Disney cartoon trying to be an epic adventure, which defies all the advertising department's attempts to sum it up in a trailer. It pulls together a multinational, spunky core team to go on said epic adventure.
Got 'em all. Best of the best.
And has grandiose cinematography. Actually, Raya and the Last Dragon cinematography was better than Atlantis. This movie is gorgeous. Even watching it on my laptop, I was sucked into its more magical moments. Back to Atlantis, there is also a magic blue stone, and far too much lore for a 90-minute movie to handle with grace.
Now, this is a page from an illuminated text that describes a book called The Shepherd's.
Raya is also what the 90s would have called a boys' movie. Each of the sets feels like a new level on a video game, and instead of musical numbers, we get fight scenes. Of course, I can't rightly call it a boys' movie. Raya is a warrior princess after all, but it ain't a musical fairy tale. So, like Atlantis, Treasure Planet, and Wreck-It Ralph, I fear Raya and the Last Dragon is going to be overlooked in the Disney lineup. It's no Zootopia. Some parts of this movie was made with real heart, and is probably one of the better home releases since the pandemic began, going up against Artemis Fowl, Mulan, and Wonder Woman. That ain't saying much, but it's something. Now, for my breakdown, I will try to avoid major spoilers. On the one hand, it's a Disney movie, so you know how it ends. But on the other, they did have a nice twist that I did not see coming because I underestimated the writers. That I will not spoil. Characters. This has a huge cast of characters, but the differences are all window dressing on the same basic person. Orphaned by the evil magic, desperately seeking companionship, but afraid to trust others. They are all oddly skilled for their age and speak very casual modern English.
Really? A cod baby?
I guess this was an attempt to make the characters more approachable to children. Raya. Raya is the ringleader among the spunky orphans, but what sets her apart is her giant armadillo hedgehog thing named Tuk Tuk, which is funny because that is common slang for a motorcycle taxi in Southeast Asia. Her other quirks are that she can't make jerky.
It's jackfruit jerky? I tried it myself.
Well, compliments to the chef.
And doesn't want children?
Remind me to never have kids.
Well, that's oddly specific for a Disney movie. I don't think it's ever stated that the Disney princesses want children. Some do and some don't. After putting all this effort to make Raya not like other princesses, the plot demands that she be exactly like the other princess in this movie.
We're both warrior women who despise uncomfortable formal wear.
And we're both Sisu superfans.
Yeah.
The rivalry between Raya and Namari of the Fang clan is visually excellent. To be clear, I had to look up Namari's name, but I knew her clan and her struggle between what she believes is good for her people and what is good for the world.
In a different world, maybe we could have been friends, but I have to do what's right for Faye.
Namari is probably the most interesting character, yet she gets so little time. I wish the movie had dug in more to the interpersonal conflict as opposed to intertwining it with the magic quest to save the world. The movie is only 90 minutes and does not have time for all of it. Sisu. Oh, and there's a dragon named Sisu. She's there as an odd mix of comic relief and seat of all wisdom without the charm of Rafiki.
Oh, mighty Sisu!
Who said that?
This movie has some serious tonal shift whiplash problems, and Sisu embodies that. I did not know what to make of her, but she did grow on me. Worldbuilding. I am a very white Minnesotan who knows enough to know I know very little about the various Asian cultures. So if someone has a better insight, let me know down in the comments. Raya is an odd mix of distinct cultures whisked together to make a generic Asian world. The world Kumandra at first feels to be very Southeast Asian, with Thai architecture, junk ships, faux noodles, and even a gamelan. True, with the different lands each have their own flavor, Spine to the north has a more Mongolian feel, which even feels weird in the logic of the movie as they go from the tropics to northern steppe in a scene jump.
We were once unified, harmoniously as one. Kumandra.
On top of this average Southeast Asian culture, Raya's story is a retooling of the romance of the Three Kingdoms. That which was divided must now unite.
Today, we can be Kumandra once more.
Funny how Western adaptations of this story always leave out the United Kingdom must also divide part. Back to the main point, the romance of the Three Kingdoms is a distinctly Chinese historic myth.
Is this real or a legend?
Oh, it's a real legend.
Raya sets it in a predominantly non-China world, with visual cues to the rogue samurai or Ronin trope from Japan. Now, I know that Billy the Kid was an important player in the romance of the Three Kingdoms.
In the romance of the Three Kingdoms, Cao Cao and Billy the Kid killed thousands, millions, billions of guys!
So this mythos is very elastic and able to complement other cultures' story traditions. Maybe Raya is an enlightened cultural fusion, or maybe Hollywood is overgeneralizing Asian cultures to appease the Chinese market. I probably wouldn't have questioned if the writers had not repeated, "We must unite," like every other scene. This movie has a problem with subtlety. Magic. There is magic in this movie, but I wouldn't call it a unified magic system. It has some very hard elements.
They're repelled by water.
And some very soft elements.
Dragons, magical creatures who brought us water and rain and peace.
The particular powers, which they talk about a lot, don't matter so much as the softest magic of all, the movie's theme.
What are June anyways?
A plague, born from human discord.
Soft magic in fairy tales is fine. A good soft magic system does not need to be explained. A fairy godmother can transform rags into a ball gown because that's what fairy godmothers do. It's not a plot hole. The writers felt like they had to explicitly state almost every rule for the system. When it comes to the powers that actually matter in the end, they say too much and too little. They needed more time to show it all, which is a shame when they only showed that water always flowed towards the dragon power in spite of silly things like gravity. It got me to gasp a few minutes later when Raya tries to summon the dragon and the stream changes direction.
I know, buddy. I haven't forgotten.
I wish they'd had more time to be delicate with the other rules of magic. Plot. This wants to be an epic so badly that it dumps an excremental ton of exposition at the beginning, We get the ancient history.
That's when the mighty Sisu, the last dragon, concentrated all her magic into a gem and...
The recent history.
But that's not how the world broke. That didn't truly happen until 500 years later.
The ancient history revisited.
After the mighty Sisu blasted away all the Drone, she fell into the water and floated downstream.
And Raya's tragic backstory. I'm beginning to see the allure of "once upon a time" as an opening line. With hindsight, it felt like the writers had written a more narrative-driven opening, then went back and added a voiceover history lesson that they tried to give an in medias res spin by making it seem like Raya was saying this on her quest to find Sisu. Once Sisu is found, it turns into another fetch quest. I do love a fetch quest. It's got a very D&D video game feel, with each new location feeling like a new level. It's not a bad thing in a movie for the whole family like it is in The Hobbit, but I digress. The movie's antagonists, the Fang clan, are, again, probably the best part of this movie. They aren't evil, they're just effective.
Fang, our fiercest enemy.
And by being cunning, manipulative women with extreme hairstyles, they do achieve the most prosperity for their people, while also causing the ruin of everyone else. Whoopsie! Naturally, the third act takes place around them, which I won't spoil. But the finale did have some minor wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey jumps that felt like a few key scenes were cut from the end so that they'd have more time in the beginning to dump exposition. Yikes. As I said before, Raya and the Last Dragon was definitely made by some people who truly cared about telling this story. And it felt like there were other people who were too afraid that people wouldn't get it, so they decided to edit it with all the subtlety of a punch to the face. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.